Guys, welcome to the show. This is the very first episode of Investing Without Regrets. The podcast where real business owners and real estate investors share their unfiltered truth about, starting a business, building it, living without holding anything back. My name is Ivan Cassiano, and I'll be your host every week. I will be interviewing real estate investors or business owners, and we are gonna do a really deep dive about their life, about their experience, about being an entrepreneur. So, the very first episode. Today, I'm excited to welcome Rex Shippy. Rex, thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you. So good to be here, man.
Okay.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, no, so you are going to be the very first guest. I'm honored to have you here. So, Rex, I know you as, the business owner, entrepreneur. You are the CEO of First Choice Homestays, right? I want to dig a little bit about that. I know you are the Idaho Sub-2 leader. I met you, I believe, a couple years ago. We are, part of the same community, which is Sub-2. I know you're big in there. You have your own little podcast there. You are very successful. But before you were the Rex Shippy you are today, before the successful Rex Shippy, who was Rex Shippy in his early days?
It's something I think about so much because it was not that long ago. Not my life in the last 2 years. My life has changed like a full 180 almost. It's so born and raised in Nampa.
Okay.
Grew up there, moved to Weiser, small town over on the Oregon border.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there for 8 years. Have always been self-employed, so I've never had a W-2 job ever.
Really?
Yeah. When I turned 18, I started a lawn care business, grew it, sold it. Went to landscaping, built that up, sold that and I was a tree climber for several years. So all the big trees in people's backyards, I would climb up those and I would cut them down in pieces.
Really?
So
interesting.
That's really who I am, who I was. I came from nothing. I have 11 siblings.
Oh, shoot. 11 siblings,
I have
huh?
11 siblings.
Are they all here in Idaho?
One is in Arizona, but
okay.
They're all in Idaho here. So grew up in a big family, not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money, huh?
Didn't grow up with much money. Lived in double wide trailer growing up. We all 11 siblings and my parents, we lived in a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house.
Jeez, 11 siblings.
So, and it was 2 double wide stuck together. Mm-hmm. That's what we grew up in. So never didn't come from any money.
Never did. That's
everything has been built from ground up.
That's excellent. And the reason I dive back into your past is because, a lot of people see the successful Rex Shippy today or see the success that you're having, and they're like, oh, he must have been lucky. He comes probably from a lot of money. They always see the rich person or the successful person as the villain, as the bad person. Mm-hmm. But then nobody knows the real struggle, right? And that's why I wanted to dig a little bit into your past. Who was Rex Shippy? But tell us a little bit about then, how did you get, started into like the whole real estate? How did you said you just changed the direction of your life 2 years ago. What happened?
Yeah, so really it started about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, some friends of mine was talking about a book that they had read that was so cool. This book was awesome, and they were talking about investing and stuff. And one of my brothers and them were trying to get me to read this book, and I'm like, I don't need to read a book. I've never been a book reader, ever,
yes.
ever. And one day I am trimming trees. I'm up in the top of a tree, trimming a tree, and it's about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. And for some reason, I decided to listen to a book because I had a helmet and it had the headphones and stuff. I was like, maybe I'll just see if I can listen to this book. But I wouldn't spend $10 on a book. So I went on YouTube and I tried to find the free version. And I found a free version of it on YouTube. So I turned it on. And I'm listening to this, and of course I didn't have YouTube Premium.
Yeah,
So
right.
I stick my phone in my pocket, and then it messes it up, and I go back, and I turn it on as I'm trying to trim this tree at the same time. And it was a Rich Dad, Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki. And it, up until that point, investing, I didn't know what investing meant. I had no idea. So when I read that book, I got done, and I'm like, wow, I really need to do something more with my life. It's not that I wasn't making money. We were kind of living paycheck to paycheck, but I could have made more money if I'd have just went and worked more. But I had no idea what investing meant. I didn't have money. I'm like, okay, invest in a stock market? Great. What is the stock market? I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. Literally knew nothing. So really, it kind of started from there. That was a turning point. And then from there, sat down, had a conversation with my wife. I'm like, I really think we need to do some of this investing stuff. He talked about like debt, good debt, bad debt. I don't really know what debt is. I don't really know anything about debt, but this made a lot of sense.
Right. And, Robert Kiyosaki probably has to be one of the most characters in the world that's changed or pivot the direction of one's life. Same thing, common thing is I had a business. I owned a business, just to give a little bit of feedback on that. And I started that in 2014, and we grew a business. We worked hard. But then back when content started becoming more and more of a thing, when it really blew up, like 2019, 2020, I started seeing more videos about the same thing: Rich Dad Poor Dad, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I never been a book reader ever. I think the last time I read a book was when I went to college. And I picked up the same book. And dude, that thing just pointed out the wrong things that I had done throughout my life. Buying expensive cars, showing, trying to get into bad debt, to, just buying things that are not useful, not assets. And and when he broke it down from liabilities to assets, I'm like, holy crap, my whole life is a liability. Like, I bought an expensive truck. That's not an asset. That's a liability. My house, dude, you're telling me my house is not it's not an asset? I thought it was an asset, And he describes it so good. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money away from your pocket. That's as simple as it gets, man. So I think that's really cool. So once you made that decision, like, what was the very first step? What was the very first action you took, even if it felt like really small?
So I just decided I need to invest. I need to invest money, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know where to start. I don't know I don't know anything about investing money.
So this was like in 2021.
Yeah, that would have been right around 2021. I called a guy that I'd heard of who did set up Roth IRAs. I'm like, maybe I'll do a Roth IRA, because if I invest in this Roth IRA for 9 years and stop investing, by the time I'm 65, I'll have like 1.3 million in there.
Right.
I'm like, that's kind of cool.
That's a lot of money.
But I'm also 65 years old by that time. But I'm like, well, that's something to do. I'll invest $6,000 a year for the next 9 years. So I called him and I said, hey, I want to set up a Roth IRA. And so we went through the process. We set it up. But then I also started asking him about day trading. Because I'm like, I want 1.3 million before I'm 65 years old. So can I do day trading? And he discouraged it a bit. He's like, if you're going to day trade with money that you're okay if you never see again. So
that's a little discouraging.
Well, he said most people that day trade lose money. Most people that do it lose money. He's like, there's some that do really good. I looked into some of the crypto stuff, Bitcoin. I'm not a technology smart person. 2.5 years ago, I'd never laid my hands on a computer. I didn't grow up with technology. We never had a TV. I didn't know anything about technology. I'm like, how am I going to learn how to day trade? I didn't know anything about it. So then, and as I was cutting trees, and I would see these houses around town that needed fixed up, or I would go trim trees for someone who was fixing up a house. And I'm like, I want to do real estate. I want to own real estate. I want to own something I can see, something I can feel, touch,
Yeah, something that you can drive up to and say, hey, that's mine.
Yep. And at this time, me and my wife, we were living in a fifth wheel RV on my brother's property. with no well and no septic. We had to haul water to our camper and haul away the sewer.
Really?
And that gives a little bit of a picture. That's the financial situation we were in. That's where we were at.
Dude, that's crazy.
And I just like, I want real estate. How am I going to get it? I don't know. So I started looking at listening to videos, listening to podcasts. And the thing I heard commonly throughout all of them was get a bank loan, save up a down payment, get a bank loan.
20% and...
Yeah, or FHA, buy one, live in it for a year, move to the next one. Well, there were some really big issues I had with
credit.
making that happen. I had zero credit. Zero credit. I didn't have any money. I had no money.
Yeah.
And we were paycheck to paycheck. You know, I would go out, work, cut down some trees. I'd make money. That money would go out here. Make some money. That money would go out here. I didn't buy a bunch of fancy vehicles. We didn't have fancy vehicles and stuff. It was just living cost money. We were doing other hobbies we had going on, but I didn't have any money and I didn't have any credit. And I knew that even if I started building credit that day, it would be a minimum of 2 years before I could buy a property.
Yeah.
And that was kind of discouraging.
Yeah.
So, and I listened to some of Grant Cardone's stuff, and he's like, buy it, start with 100 units. And I'm like, I can't even buy a single house. How am I going to buy 100 units?
And go raise money from these people, and I'll show you how.
Exactly. So, but I didn't give up. Even though it seemed hopeless, every day I would go out and trim trees. For the summer of 2003, been 3 years ago now, I would listen to podcasts. I would try to listen to a podcast or a book, part of a book, every single day. Even though it seemed hopeless, I went to the bank and I said, hey, I really need to get a credit card. Couldn't you guys get me like a secured credit card, like a $500 credit card? Like, what can you guys get me? I got a credit card, but I just listened to podcasts. I listened to podcasts because I didn't know of anything else to do. I didn't know of anything. And then it was in 2022. Later part of 2022, one of my brothers said, hey, I know you're really wanting to buy real estate, and I just ran across this guy on YouTube. I think it could really help you out. He's doing some really cool things. I'll send you the video I seen. So he sent me the video, and it was a video of Pace Morby, a 16-hour live video that he did. And I sat down and I watched that whole video.
A full 16 hours,
16 hours. I got up and I told my wife, I said, this is it. This is the answer I had been praying for. He just showed me a way that I could go do stuff and I didn't need credit. I didn't need money because still at that time I had no money. This is the way we're going to do it. And that was in November of 2022.
And at that time, tell me about your wife, Katrina, right?
Yes.
Before we go a little bit, tell me about your wife. How did you meet her?
So I met her at her oldest sister's wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, she had known some of my family members previously, and I met some of her family at a church camp that their church did. They invited me to the wedding. We went to the wedding. She was working on a ranch in Nevada. She came back for the wedding, and that's where we met.
Oh, really? So who talked to who first? You talked to her, or
we got introduced by one of her brothers, actually.
Really? At the wedding?
At the wedding. So that's where we met.
And then this would
have been about 6 years ago now. So we're in 2025, so it's been 2019.
What do you love about Katrina?
Everything. I wouldn't be who I am today without her.
And then you have children with her, right?
We have two kids.
What are their names?
McKady is the oldest one, and Kingsley is the younger one.
Okay, what do you love about McKady?
She's not afraid of stuff. She's very tenderhearted. just being a dad to kids is just, it changes a person.
Isn't that such a blessing? Isn't it changes your purpose in life? It's a love you cannot describe. It's definitely a gift from God.
It is 100%. Kids are challenging. being a business owner while being a father and a husband is challenging. But it's the challenges we once prayed for.
Yeah.
And now we have them.
Yeah, that is so weird. So when you went back to Katrina, what do you love about the smaller one?
Kingsley? Oh, she's not afraid of anything.
Either. How old is she?
She's 18 months.
18 months, dude. That's a fun age.
Oh, you have
to be so careful about that, man. They're
so
wild
busy.
at that.
They're so busy, and they love each other. They love to play together, but it's watching them develop, watching your kids develop, and I see things differently than I used to, just from the personal development I went through. You know, you see things differently than you used to, watching them develop, and you see the importance of the development of your kids differently than you used to.
Yeah. So when you went back, let's go back a little bit. I wanted to, talk about your well, but when you went back and told Katrina, like, this is what we're going to do, what did she say at that time?
On the, 4 years ago, on the investing side?
Yeah, on the investing side. I'm assuming when you're like, you saw that video and you went back to your little RV and you told Katrina
about the book.
The book. What went through her head? What did she say?
She didn't really say a lot. She's like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. She, remember this. Katrina grew up in a family that was very against debt as well. Very against debt. You do not go in debt. If I would have been in debt when I met Katrina, she would have never married me.
Really?
That's how strongly they felt about debt.
Oh, crap. Yeah, and everybody talks about... The thing is that we are so uneducated when we come fresh out of high school. Nobody knows. I mean, unless there's other people, right? And that's why successful business owners teach their kids different things, right? But a normal person that comes right out of high school, man, we're sometimes in trouble because you don't know what you're doing. You don't have no direction in your life. Most of our parents are just, hard workers, but, hard work sometimes just doesn't lead you to freedom, right? So, yeah, that can be tough. So you got into that. What was your first step that once you took that idea back to Katrina and started circling around, how did you guys plan it out? What was
we didn't really. I knew so little. I didn't know enough to even plan anything. It was just, how are we going to continue to, how am I going to invest? I thought stock market, I set up the Roth IRA. I never put any money into it, but I set it up. At that time, we were buying a lot of dogs. We were working towards doing dog training full time. We had 40 dogs at one point in time. We traveled all around the United States and competed with them. So we were putting our money into dogs and stuff like that. But it was kind of in that time when I realized this isn't going to do it. The life we want to build, I can't build that by just doing the dogs. I need to have more money coming in. So then we'd kind of put pause on that and stopped pursuing that so much and started trying to grow the landscaping and the tree service company more because I was broke. I had no money. And I thought, if there's any way I'm going to get out of this, I got to get some more money coming in, because if I'm going to have a down payment for anything, I don't got it. I don't got any money.
Yeah. And that can be tough, right? And a lot of people, what sells a lot is on the online courses, on the internet, is just have passive income. Everybody talks about passive income. Have 20 rentals. Dude, 20 rentals is hard, man. And managing that and coming up with the down payments or seller finance or whatever. But even if you were to have your W-2 job and buy, just rentals to create passive income, that's still work and that's still hard. I believe that but obviously that sells courses, right? Because they don't sell the passive investment. They sell the freedom that comes with passive. Have passive income.
The thought of freedom.
Yeah,
they're selling that thought of freedom.
And they're like, oh, you'll be in the beach having margaritas, right? But nobody focuses about active income, which is probably the best and fastest way to get to freedom.
So there's a couple issues I see with these online, and I see, and I know, why they do it. They put it on there to get attention, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna be in Hawaii on the beach sipping a margarita, but it's not. It's not like that. It doesn't. It just doesn't happen like that. And it's you have to have income to live.
Right.
Passive income is amazing, but you still got to have income to live. And I think so many people get hung up on this thought of, if I have a W-2 job, I can't build this. Because I'm working 40 hours a week in my W-2 job, 60 hours a week in my W-2 job, and therefore I can't build this. And that's false. That's false. You can build an amazing real estate company, whatever else, and still have a W-2 job.
Yeah.
And we all want freedom. We want to be able to be free and do what we want to do when we want to do it.
Yeah, and that everybody talks. Like I said, everybody sells the idea of having passive income, but what we really want is freedom to do whatever we want with whoever we want, whenever we want, right? But when you're and that's why so many people get sucked into these courses when you're in a desperate situation, trying to both, like I was in a similar situation. You're just trying to get like the magic bullet, the silver bullet, and that's what they exactly sell you.
Yep.
You think that every course has like some sort of magic bullet, and nobody does. Pace doesn't do it. Ryan Pineda, the community that was part of, nobody has the magic bullet. You still have to put in the work. They're not gonna hold you by the hand, and people have that idea of that. If I'm buying into this mentorship, I'm gonna be rich in like in a year, and it's not happen. Rex, tell us a little bit, with anything new, bring everything new, the change, and even a thought of just changing, you start bringing fear into your life. What were some of the fears that you were thinking about when, chasing this new dream, and how did you overcome them?
So I don't know if there was necessarily fears, about wanting to invest and wanting to have more money. For me, it was more just seemed hopeless. Even though it seemed hopeless, I kept pounding on that door. I kept pursuing and learning as much as I could, or as much as I knew I could. Because when you absolutely know nothing, your arrogance is you're just arrogant. You don't know it. You don't know anything. So therefore, I was learning what I knew I could learn. Reading books, listening to podcasts. It didn't necessarily scare me. It just seemed hopeless. It seemed hopeless. But even though it seemed hopeless, I continued doing it because I thought one day something's going to happen and I'm going to be able to do this. One day. I'm going to have the credit. I'm going to have all the tax returns I need because I'm self-employed. I'm going to have all the stuff. And one day, I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And it was just, I had to truly believe that in order to keep just pushing and pushing and pushing.
How do you build a resilience when everything seems hopeless?
I don't know. It wasn't necessarily, it's what I wanted. Listening to these podcasts, I would hear someone else's story, as we're doing right now. Someone's going to view this and they're going to hear your story. They're going to hear my story, I would hear someone else's story. I heard a story. One time I listened to a podcast and I heard a story of someone my age. But this was 4 or 5 years ago. They started buying multifamily stuff on seller finance. I'm like, that would be so cool. But that's a 1 in a million thing. Yeah. No one else, those opportunities don't come up. But I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What if I could do that? What if that opportunity came up for me? So it's just every one of these different stories would excite me and make me realize there's even more opportunity out there than I thought, and more ways to do stuff than I thought.
Yeah.
And this was prior to ever listening to Pace, even ever knowing anything about Pace Morby. This was just even traditional. My hope at that point was, in 10 years, I'll be able to own 10 properties. It'll be 2-3 years before I can get my first one, but then I get my first one, and maybe a couple years I'll get a second, and then within 10 years I'll own 10 single family homes. That was my goal as of 3 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, and you know what? That's really hard, because you said something that's really important, that you know, you didn't quit. And I can't remember who I think it was Brandon Turner that said this, because I listen to his podcast a lot. Most people, they never fail. Most people never fail. They just quit. They just end up giving up.
Yep.
If you can somehow train your mind to just consistently keep on going, eventually success is going to be inevitable.
Yes.
But you have to be patient and take action. And that's the hardest thing. Taking action when you don't see results. And that was that was hard for me when I started wholesaling, flipping, and I was constantly calling. I didn't see success. I'm like, this sucks. And I almost quit. I'm like, maybe the real estate's not for me, you know? But then you start having a little bit of a deal here, and then you have that proof of concept. I'm like, oh man, this actually does work. And that's how you build confidence. But yeah, I mean, most people never fail. They just end up quitting, man. Tell us about an obstacle that almost made you quit, that you say this is a desperate point in my life that you almost gave up.
So there was a lot of hard times. So in 2022, I listened to a video, and I said, this is the way we're going to do this. We're going to buy real estate. This is how we're going to be able to buy real estate. In January of 2023, so about a month later, I'm like, what is this sub-2 program thing? So I called, I got some information on it, and I'm like, I don't have the money to join this. I don't have the money to join it. But I'm like, I told my wife, I said, I have to be in a room of people. And still at this time, she was like, oh yeah, it's cool. It was kind of my thing. It wasn't really her thing. I was holding her out of it without knowing. It was kind of my thing. I was kind of pursuing this real estate thing. She's like, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, she didn't know anything about it really. It was just kind of my thing. And I told her, I really want to do this, but I don't know. This may be a scam. This may not be a scam. Yeah. I don't know, but I don't even have the money to do it. And she said, I'll sell my horse, take that money, and help you get into it if that'll make the difference.
Really?
And I said, we can't do that. We can't do that. Yeah. I will find a way to get into it. Maybe when this is winter time, my work was slow. I didn't have a lot of work coming in. Maybe I'll just have to wait a few months. Maybe I will then save up the money to get into it. And this was under $10,000. I didn't have the money to spend on something like that. And a lot of people out there, I hear this all the time. They're like, I don't have any money. I can't do anything. It's not money. It's here. If you don't have it here, doesn't matter how much money you'll have. You'll never do it. But it's. Right. I said I have to be in this, so I figured out how I could do payments on it, and I made payments to them. And the payments challenged me because I said I'll do X amount per month as a payment. This amount down, X amount per month as a payment.
And you had to find the money.
I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I didn't have the money to make those payments. Yeah. So it pushed me to get out of my comfort zone, go find the work to make the money to make those payments to stay in that group.
How did Sub2 change your life? Or when you met Pace Morby, what happened that, pivoted your life to the life you have today?
Everything. I want to answer the last question because I don't think I answered it completely. About what made me about give up.
Yeah.
Let's finish that question. So in 2023 I wanted to do real estate, and I started doing everything.
Yeah.
I started calling, I started texting, I started emailing, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little bit of traction here and there. And then I kind of got a discouraging phase. It's like you start here, you go down to the depths of despair. And I stepped back from everything for 2 or 3 months, and I just kind of worked on mindset, listened to videos. My work was starting to get busier, and I was cutting more trees. And I got my first property in May of 2023. It needed a lot of rehab. I partnered with one of my brothers on it because I didn't have the money for a $14,000 entry fee on a property. That was $9,000 to the seller, $5,000 to the wholesaler. I didn't have that. I could barely scrounge up half of that to buy that property. You don't have to have money to do this. But we decided in June of 2023, we're like, what if we sell everything we have and go do real estate full time?
What did Katrina say at that point?
She's like, because we'd already joked about it a little bit. She's like, I don't know, we might. Maybe we should do that. And during the last, those few years, 2020 and 2020 and 2022, we'd bought the property we were living on. We ended up buying it from my brother on owner finance. So we had some property, but we were still living in a fifth floor RV. We had dogs, we had horses, we had 150 head of sheep, we had my tree service business, we had all this stuff, and we're like, I've never lived in town, but what if we sell everything? We go get an apartment, cut our expenses, get an apartment, and focus everything in on real estate. And we're like, let's do it. By the end of August, we gave ourselves a deadline. By the end of August, we're going to sell everything we have. We're going to move to town. We're going to do this real estate full time.
Including your RV where you were living.
We're selling everything. Everything. We will have no active income coming in. It will be up to us to make this real estate thing work out, or we're going to sink. We had a daughter at the time. My wife was pregnant with our second. So that gave us a deadline. I sent a text out to some of my family members and told them, and they're like, you guys are dumb. You guys are crazy. So we started selling things. And we were planning to sell all of these things, stockpile enough money to then take that money and be able to live off that money for a period of time while the real estate stuff started going. And one of the times it was really hard, it was close to, in a sense, like made you really question, like one of the first really hard times is we had 150 head of sheep. We were going to sell them. We figured we would get $15,000 to $20,000 for these sheep. We brought them into the sell barn, borrowed a trailer from a friend, a big double-decker trailer, loaded them up, hauled them to the sell barn, and we're expecting to walk away that day with a $15,000 to $20,000 check. Right. And that's going to go into our savings account so that we can live off of that for a while till the real estate starts paying.
Right.
We walked away from the sell barn that day with a $3,700 check.
Holy crap. What happened? Why? How come?
The market was just dead.
Oh, my goodness. That's kind of a,
That's the first time.
Iced cold bath.
When we really just... That's one of the first hard, really.
And that was 150 head of sheep?
Yep. That was one of the moments where we're like, is this really the thing we're going to do or not? Is this actually going to happen or not? We literally cried.
Oh my goodness.
We were planning putting that together, adding that to our thing. That was one of the first hard things we went through.
What did Katrina say?
Just like they say, when you feel like you're going to give up, if you just keep going, then you're going to break through something. The moment before the great finale is when you're about to give up.
Yeah.
And I'd heard people say that, we'd both heard people say that, and we're like, we're not going to give up. We still have our deadline by the end of August. We're going to do this.
So you guys then sold the sheep, but what was going through your guys' mind when like you saw what you guys were getting for each sheep? Because I mean, how does that work? Do you just get like a whole?
It was an auction.
It's an auction, or what?
I never. It was an auction, so they just ran them in, and the sickening feeling that came over us, and you start asking yourself why.
And you can't.
Why this?
Once
we could have tried to buy them back, but we're like, we don't want them back. We're selling this stuff. But then you start asking yourself, like, why? God, why this? That's $15,000 that we lost that day, we felt like. And when you don't have any money, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
And we're like, why? Why?
Crap, yeah.
And the sickening feeling that we had. And that hour drive back home of...
Where was the auction?
The auction was in Caldwell.
Okay.
And it was like the hour drive back home to Weiser, Mans Creek, where we lived. It was just like, why? Asking ourselves, why this? Why did this have to happen to us? In a sense of just not necessarily in a self-pity way, but it was just, it was a hard thing to work through. But we gave ourselves the day to cry about it.
Yeah.
And then the next day we were like, this is still our deadline. End of August is still our deadline. This is what we're doing. This isn't going to stop us from doing what we're going to do. A lot of people think when things are getting hard, that's when you give up.
Yep.
But that's not when you give up. That's when you push harder. And that's what we knew we had to do in order to make it happen.
Yeah. How did you guys find courage to just overcome that biggest challenge?
We were aligned. As you mentioned earlier, I mentioned, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Katrina. We were aligned with the same thing. It wasn't me telling her, saying, hey, we're going to sell everything and go do this real estate stuff. It wasn't, because if it was, and then that would have happened, and she was like, why are we doing this? You're so dumb. We can't, she doesn't, we were aligned. Or vice versa. She wanted to do it, and I was being negative about it because something that we felt was negative happened to us. We were aligned on it. We agreed on the thing we were going to do is sell everything and move to town. We agreed on that. That's how we continued to push through it. I think with married couples, if you're not aligned on things, that's the biggest detriment. That's the biggest thing that'll stop people.
Yeah.
If they're not aligned on it.
That is definitely true. I mean, that's tough. You touch a very good point there, because your significant other is either going to push you or sink you. That's it. Like, that's why it is important to choose someone, right? And obviously things are going to change, but it's important to be both on board. When I started changing, when I, for instance, decided to sell the business that I had, I mean, I was very successful. I was comfortable. I was getting a good lifestyle. What else could I have? I had money in the bank. I had a nice car. I had a nice house, but I wanted more. And when I decided to sell that, my wife could have either said, nope, right? Because she wants, am I going to lose the lifestyle that I have now? Or she could have said yes. Luckily for me, she's like, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with whatever you want. I started doing real estate, wasn't having success, but she was there pushing me. And then she's worried. She sees that I'm not doing like good. And she's like, hey, are we doing okay? Do I need to go to work? And when she said that, like, I need to go to work, I'm like, nope, you do not need to go to work. I have to figure this out. One way or another, I have to figure it out. Then I started creating a little bit of content. I'm like, I'm going to, everybody talks about content. She could have laughed at me. She could have said, like, what the hell are you doing, Ivan? What the hell? Why are you filming yourself? Like, what's going through your mind? Dude, just go get a job and go work again, right? Yeah. But no, she pushed me. She's like, okay. She's like, I'm like, here, hold the camera. She's like, okay. She was the one holding the camera, and she could have made fun of me. She could have laughed at me. But no, she was there. And she's, she was there right by my side, and she still is in everything that I'm doing. Even this podcast, it wouldn't have been if it wasn't because of her. I started feeling like imposter syndrome. I'm like, no, who the heck is going to listen to this? Why should I do this? Who the heck is going to want to come on the show? And it's like, no, just do it. She's like, just do it. And it's very important to have a spouse that supports you. I mean, a significant other. I think I would not be here without her. I would never started this new adventure, this new project without her. So it's very, very important. Rex, I want to transition into a little bit of, obviously you went through some hard times. That's a really hard thing, I mean, losing that much money. But tell us about your first deal. Talk about, because everybody that wants to get into real estate is always chasing that first deal. If once you get that first deal, something magical is going to happen. And sometimes it's not always the case, but tell us about your first deal. How'd you get it? And how did that turn out?
I love that question. As you said, people think when that first deal happens, that's when something magical is going to happen. So I'm going to tell you about 2 deals. The first one and the second one.
Okay.
Because I also thought when that first deal happened, something magical is going to happen.
Like you're gonna somehow make $1 million like overnight.
It did in an instance, but the second deal is what changed my life.
Okay.
And here's why. So the first deal in November, when I started pushing harder for November 2022, when I started pushing 2022, when I started pushing harder for real estate. I think it was actually December. I, out of all people, have no following on Facebook or social media at the time, and I still really don't necessarily have a lot, but at that time it was nobody. But I went on there and I made a post, and I said
on Sub2.
No, just on my own personal Facebook page. I said I want to start buying real estate. I want multifamily, I want RV parks, I want vacant lots, I want fix and flip properties, and I named off every real estate asset class there was. And if you go back on my Facebook, you'll see it on there. Picture of me, I'm standing on a rock overlooking Lewiston, Idaho, and I write this whole thing out. And after that, and then a few people that I know commented on that, and like, hey, so-and-so has a great investment property, and I knew a little bit about Sub2 at the time. So with that post, it got me communicating with someone I've known for years who was a real estate agent. It got me communicating with him. He knew a little bit about creative stuff. And because this deal, someone had commented on there, said so-and-so has an investment deal. And a good investment property for sale. So I reached out to them. It could have been a Sub2. So I started communicating with him because he's the only person I knew who knew anything about real estate, really. So we started communicating back and forth about this deal. That deal didn't work out. That's in December, January timeframe. And then
now we're in
April,
2023.
Now we're in 2023 and we're in April, and we are driving to my grandma's funeral. And I get a phone call out of the blue. And then there's this friend of mine who I was previously talking to about a couple different properties that never worked out. He calls me and says, hey, a wholesaler sent me this property that I was planning to buy, but I just have too many projects going on right now. I'm going to back out of it. Is it something you want? And I'm like, absolutely. Can I go look at it this afternoon? He's like, the kicker is we have to have there has to be money wired over by 3 p.m. today. This is 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm on my way to my grandma's funeral. Most people pray for opportunity, but then when it comes to them at an inconvenient time, they say, never mind. But there was an opportunity there. I called my brother right after because I didn't have the money because this was a seller finance deal. I didn't have the money to even get into a low entry fee. I called him and I said, hey, because he was one who sent me a Pace Morby video. He's one who helped me and pushed me in getting started to start with. So I'm like, if I'm going to partner with someone, I'll call him. He said, hey, do you want to go in on this 50-50? We'll both bring 50% of the money and we'll own it together. He's like, yeah. So after my grandma's funeral, we drove to Mountain Home, hour and a half away, drove past this property, said, we'll take it. We didn't walk in the property. We just said, we'll take it, drove back to the bank, sent out money. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know if I heard these videos. I wasn't supposed to send money directly to a wholesaler. It's supposed to be sent to a title company. I'm like, they told me to send it to the wholesaler. I don't know what I'm doing. I may lose this money, but I'm going to send it.
How much money?
The wholesale fee was $5,000. So I sent $2,500 and my brother sent $2,500. That's all I had in my bank account was $2,500.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's kind of a scary move,
and
Rex.
He had money in his account, but I didn't have it $5,000 to say. Otherwise, I'd have bought the property myself, but I didn't have it. I wired the money. He wired money to the same thing. And then that was the first deal. I knew so little about real estate. There was an agent involved with the wholesale deal. There's an agent involved. And I asked her, I said, so when are we going to sign contract on this property? And she's like, you already have, silly. I didn't know I'd signed a contract on the property. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. We then closed on May 6th of 2023. It was a little 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. needed a lot of work. There was a shed in the backyard, which we then found out there was an old ADU that was falling apart. That first deal, I had a contractor in there. He walked away with $10,000 of my money, drug the project out for 6 months longer than it should have. We held that property for over a year before we made any money on it. It costed us money every single month for an entire year before we made any money on it. First deal was great. It was like, this is doable. And then, when you're starting out, and so many people when they're starting out, they feel judged by whether it's their family, their friends, like, come on, you're going to start this business or you're going to go do this. How's that ever going to work? And in that moment, when we bought that property, it was kind of like, now the family and friends are like,
maybe he's onto something.
Maybe this is actually something. But I was still doing my tree service business and things like this. But then I'll tell you about the second deal, because that's the one that really changed my life, or our lives. Is in June, we decided we're going to sell everything we have. We're going to move to town. We're going to do this real estate full time. At that point, I was still doing everything. I was trying to call and text, everything. And then my wife came in around that time, and she was training dogs. I was working all day. I would come home and work on the real estate stuff. And she's like, I can't do this anymore. She said, I love what I do training dogs, but I hate doing it without you. So if you're going to do this real estate stuff, we're going to do it together, and we're going to get rid of the dogs, or we need to do it. Like, we love doing things together. So, and it was a hard conversation. We decided, okay, let's do it together. Let's do this real estate stuff together. So she started making calls to real estate agents. And then she didn't know anything. She'd have a conversation, say, yeah, my husband's going to call you back later.
She was your appointment setter.
Pretty much. But she didn't know anything. And I didn't want to necessarily make the calls, but now I was forced to call these people back. So that started in June. We started doing that. And then I got focused in on one thing. I would only look at, and I would only call single family homes that were on market, that were low equity. I wouldn't look at a duplex. I wouldn't look at anything else. And that went on, and I made calls after calls after calls after calls after calls. And we were in July. We're approaching the end of August. We're partway through. By our deadline, we don't know where we're going to go. We don't know if we're going to get an apartment. I had no credit, really. It's like, who's going to rent an apartment to me? Can I buy a house? If I could buy a house sub 2 or seller finance, that'd be ideal. But I'm like, I want to stay in $1,000 to $1,500 monthly payment. That's what I need to stay in. Well, lo and behold, I had some wholesalers sending me properties, and I called about this house in Nampa. Nice house, beautiful home. Call the agent up, and he's like, "Are you want to pay some more of these guys?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" So he had other people, wholesalers, reaching out wanting to buy this property sub 2. He's like, the owner's okay to terms, but these are the terms that he wants. The monthly payment was $3,600 a month. He wants this. He wants a balloon payment in X amount of years, option to extend, this much for an option to extend. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome. I'm like, well, let me talk to my wife about it. I lived in a fifth floor RV. This property was listed on the market for $680,000.
Oh, crap.
And I'm like, who the heck is
And Rex? This was in July?
July of 2023.
So yeah, you're almost reaching your deadline in August.
But I was just trying to buy investment properties. I'm like, where we live, I'll go get an apartment, whatever. We'll get an apartment or something, but I'm just trying to buy investment property. And I was looking at this as an investment property possibly. And he tells me the numbers, what the payment is, and I kind of know what my entry fee is going to be. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, it doesn't cash flow as a long-term rental.
Right.
And I'm not going to move into a property that has a $3,600 monthly payment on it. Like, I have an $1,800 a month payment on this 45 acres of land that I'm buying, and we're living in a fifth floor RV. And I'm selling everything. I'm not going to have any active income coming in. There's no way in the world I'm going to go get a $3,600 monthly payment. So I went to Arizona for a little meetup that was happening down there, and some people I really wanted to meet. I went down there, and as I was down there, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, what if I'm out of town and my wife and kids were in some dumpy little apartment somewhere? Am I going to feel comfortable leaving leaving them in there. But I'm like, what other option do we have? We looked at a dumpy little house, sub 2, in a dumpy part of town. And I'm like, what else? What other option do we have? We need to keep our monthly payment between $1,000 and $1,500 because I had no other debt, no vehicle debt. And I knew Pace Morby was doing a meetup in Idaho Falls, or was supposed to be that next week. I came back on Sunday and I didn't see anything posted about the meetup, so we started reaching out to Sub 2 support, the support thing, and we're like, is Pace doing a meetup? Is Pace doing a meetup? Because I was gonna drive 6 hours over there to a meetup if he did one. And finally, they posted a thing on a Monday, I think it was, said, hey, there's a meetup. He's doing a meetup. This is the address. We made a little post in some of the Facebook groups and said, hey guys, some of the Boise people that we got to know a little bit, doing a little bit of investing stuff. We're going over to Idaho Falls to this meetup. And someone made a comment on there that said, maybe you should think about what you're going to get out of it besides just meeting Pace or seeing Pace. In a sense, making fun of me for driving 6 hours one way to a meetup.
Just to meet someone.
And I'd met him prior, but to go to a little meetup he's did. And for me, I said, I don't care if I don't get anything else out of it. If I can be in a room of someone that high level, I'm going to drive 6 hours.
Yep.
So we loaded up. We had one daughter. My wife's pregnant at the time. And we drive 6 hours over there. On the way over there, I called this real estate agent back on this property that I was looking at buying. And I said, I'm not going to buy it. I said, it's just more than we need. He's like, you're so dumb. Like, you're never going to find this type of deal. I'm like, no, you're right. And I probably won't find this good of a deal anywhere. But it doesn't make sense for us. We don't need something that nice. We're coming from a fifth wheel RV. We don't need a house that, of course, I didn't tell him that.
And it doesn't work as an investment.
It's not going to cash flow as a long-term rental. So we drive to this meetup, and there's about 10, 12 of us there. And we're talking. Pace starts going around the room. What do you have? What do you need? What do you have? What do you need? Then he's like, what are you guys seeing for opportunities here? Me and my wife are both sitting there. And I said, I did call about this one property. I was looking for validation for him to tell me that I was doing the right thing by not buying it. I said that
kind of like Dame Ramsey style.
In a sense, I wanted him to say no. You shouldn't.
You wanted
buy
to play it safe.
Yeah, 100%. I said there was this one deal. I called about this property, and the agent said they'd do sub 2 and stuff, but it's just way nicer than what we need. So I'm gonna pass on it. He's like, "What's the address?" So he picks up his phone, and he looks the address up, and he's like, "And why aren't you buying this house again?" I'm like, "I just don't need something that nice." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "But this place is beautiful." He's like, "I would live in this house." My wife's sitting there, she's pregnant. He's like, "Bro, go buy this house." He's like, "What's the payment on it?" I'm like, $3,600 a month. He's like, what's it gonna cost to get into it? I'm like, this much. He's like, "Bro, go buy the house." And I said, "But I don't need that. We don't need something that nice." He looked over at me. He's like,
"Go buy
do
the house."
Do you think that she deserves that? He's like, ask Katrina. He's like, "Do you want to be in that house?" And of course, she's kind of like, yeah, she would love to be in it. But at the same time, where she came from,
she didn't want to put you on the spot either. But
she didn't. That was out of her comfort zone. You don't get debt. You don't do this. In a sense, it's way out of her comfort zone. And he's like, "Just go buy the house." And I'm like, "But it doesn't make sense. It ain't gonna cash flow as a rental." He's like, "Who cares? You're gonna live in it. You're gonna raise your family in there. They're gonna have a safe place to be." He's like, "Do you think you're gonna have more confidence calling from the office in that house or your camper?" And I'm like, "Well, probably the office of that house." I said, "But I was trying to keep our monthly payment in like $1,000 or $1,500. And he said, "Do you think so little of yourself that you don't think you're capable of making an extra $24,000 in a year?"
Dude, that's so...
Is that how little you think of yourself?
Yeah.
And it was kind of that moment that a lot of things kind of ran through my mind. Everybody else in that room was saying I shouldn't buy it. Pace was the one person in that room. Everybody else was against him. He's like, "Go buy the house." I said, all right. I said, I'll do it. I didn't know how I was going to buy the house. I didn't know how I'd make it work. But I said, he's someone who's doing what I want to do. He's telling me something very specific to go do. Why would I not do it? He's built something and I haven't. He's not going to be telling me something to go do that's just stupid. I said, I'll go buy the house. I was scared. I was terrified. But I'll go buy the house. He said, I'll even be a lender on it for you if you need me to. I said, I'll go buy the house. He's like, text me when you have it under contract. Let me know. That meetup was a turning point in our life. If I would not have drove 6 hours to that meetup, I wouldn't be sitting here at this table today. I wouldn't be where I am today.
And that dude, that is so powerful, man. To give a little bit of feedback about that, I heard this once from a quote or a podcast. Or from someone. It says, "Never take advice from someone you will not trade lives with." Never take advice from someone you will not trade lives with. If you look at that person and you see his life and he or she does not have the life that you desire, don't take advice from them. Why? Because they haven't achieved what you want in life. So where Pace was giving you advice and you saw what he had, you saw where he was coming from, dude, that's a game changer. That is really, really something inspiring. And believe it or not, sometimes, man, we think so little of ourselves. When in reality, you're like, holy crap, when he puts it in that perspective, do you think so little of yourself that you cannot make an extra $24,000? That really hits you. Like, oh shoot, no, I'm capable of more. And it does bring you a lot of confidence, man. When you're in your office, you start calling people from there. I'm assuming that brought you a lot of confidence of, hey, I'm actually in my little office in a nicer house rather than a camp trailer. It does make a big difference.
100%. He said you are spending money to save money. Because for me, my mindset was conserve.
Right.
If you are saving money because of a scarcity mindset, you are hindering yourself.
Yeah.
Because I was from a scarcity mindset. I didn't have the confidence that I could go make an extra $24,000 in a year. Even though I said I did, I didn't.
Yeah.
I was trying to conserve from a scarcity mindset. And he pointed that out, and it was for about 10 or 15 minutes there, he just sat there and slapped me back and forth. And it was
telling you go buy the house.
And I would open my mouth and say something, and then he would make me feel stupid, not in a bad way, but just pointing out how ridiculous my mind was, how little I thought of myself and my ability to make money and the opportunities out there. He was pointing out my scarcity mindset over and over and over.
Yeah.
And other people in the room still thought I was crazy for doing it. But I said, I'll go buy the house. I don't know how. I don't know if this will work out. I don't know if it will or not. But I'll go buy the house.
Yeah.
And it was a feeling of, we left that meetup. We was only there for about an hour. We left that meetup, and on the drive home.
Oh, you guys drove home?
We didn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning or something. We drove all the way home. And it was like this excited, scared feeling.
Yeah.
But it was almost like there was a world of unknown ahead of us, and we were excited to go see what that new
challenge meant and what that was going to bring into your life.
We signed contract on the property. About 2 weeks after we'd signed contract on the property, I didn't see the property in person, but about 2 weeks after, we drove.
It was on market, right?
It was on market. Drove into the neighborhood on a Sunday afternoon. We're like, let's just go drive by the house. We drove into the neighborhood and pulled in, and my wife looked at me and said, "We don't belong here."
It's a nice neighborhood.
We pull in. There's a neighborhood pool. There's kids up there playing
in Meridian
or
in
Nampa.
Oh, in Nampa.
This house was built in 2022, and this was 2023. So the house was a year old.
Yeah.
We drive through this neighborhood. There's all custom built homes in there, pools. There's 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old people out there on the sidewalk. There's a pool. we don't belong here. She said, I'm like, maybe we don't, but this is where we're going to be.
Yeah.
That fear, we were so out of our comfort zone coming from a fifth wheel RV that
Dude,
was
who wouldn't,
mice infested, no septic system there, to moving into a big custom home.
Brand new home. Dude, that is crazy, man. And it's good to hear your story because people, like I said, out there feel hopeless or feel like they have no other choice. They have no other options. And to listen to your story that, like, hey, you did not, like, you burned all ships. You literally burned all ships and like, this is the only way, and it has to work out. There's no plan B. There's no plan C. It's just plan A. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but it has to work. And it pushes you. It really pushes you to find a way to make it work.
If you have a plan B, you're planning to fail plan A.
Oh, dude, that is so good.
If you come up with a plan B,
yeah,
it's because you're not confident in plan A.
And you're already thinking about failing before you even starting.
You're already seeing how plan B is going to work.
Yeah.
Because plan A, you're already thinking this is all the reasons it's going to fail. So therefore, I got to have a plan B, and you're not even going to end up doing plan B. You're going to end up failing past that because you didn't have any confidence in the first plan.
Yeah. And that's why, I always hear, about this on podcasts, like the biggest disability you have is a poor mindset. It's not having no arms or not having no legs or not having nothing. It all starts from your mind. Mm-hmm. The biggest disability you can possibly have is a poor mindset. Mm-hmm. Dude, that is so good, man. Tell us about a little bit. I mean, I see your hat, first choice, homestays. Dude, I need a hat.
Yeah.
Next time you're down here, that's a cool hat. But tell us about that. So you obviously decided to start this business. What is first choice homestays? How does that business work? What are you into? Tell us where you're at now.
Yeah, I would like to go through a little bit more what led into that.
Okay, tell us how did that.
So we moved into that house on my 25th birthday, 2 years ago, right about 2 years ago, and from there we started buying properties. We bought our third property, and then we bought our fourth property. I had still made no money from real estate. Mm-hmm. And we bought our fourth property. We closed on our fourth property. We had a displaced family reach out to us. Mm-hmm. Their house had flooded. They needed a place to live. We ended up furnishing this home, put them in this home.
In the Treasure Valley, right? All of your investment properties are in the Treasure Valley?
Yep. And we put them in this home. We had it rented out. I now had my first check from real estate. My first ever rental property check come in from real estate. I was like, this is pretty darn cool. And then I bought it sub 2, so then I have to go in and make the mortgage payment. I was new. I didn't know what I was doing. I logged in to make the mortgage payment, and the property was in foreclosure.
Oh, crap. And you had already closed on it?
We closed on it a month prior.
Okay.
These are mistakes that you're going to make. These are the things that hold people back from doing anything. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the mistakes. That sickening feeling, that embarrassment, that shame that we felt. I didn't talk about it for months because I felt so ashamed that I made a mistake like that. Like, how could I do this? That shame.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
But we found a way past it. We're like, oh, the note's gonna get called due, but we found a way through it. We're like, okay, this is what it is. This is reality. How do we get from here? Mm-hmm. We can sit here and whine about it for the next 2 months, or we can just make something happen and move forward. So that's what we did, and we just continued buying properties. In my first 12 months, we had 10 doors.
Jeez.
From the time I joined sub 2, we had 10 doors, but we were drowning. Mm-hmm. We had $12,000 to $15,000 a month going out in just property payments, and a little tiny rent and a little rent check coming in each month. Mm-hmm. We were drowning. Our money was going fast. We're like, we have to do something different. We did co-living, we did Airbnb, we did long-term, we did midterm. And while in the middle, I'm trying to rehab some properties to get them ready to rent out. Like, our money was going, and those were some of the lowest times. We just,
and did you still have money saved up at the time?
I had
very
money
little
saved up, but it was going away. But I'm like, I want to own real estate. This is going to work. I don't want to wholesale these properties. I want to own them. We're going to make this work. And I just kept buying properties, and we're spending tons of money. So we did co-living. We're like, we got to get these properties rented out. We have to start making these properties pay for themselves. If we can just cover the payments, the little money we have now will go way farther. Mm-hmm. So for anybody watching this, maybe don't do what I did. Buy a property, get it stabilized, then go buy another one. Mm-hmm. But it's what we did. Kind of like we just sold everything and moved to town.
So how were you coming up with the entry fees or the
private money lenders?
Private money lenders.
Yep. So bringing in people for private money on the entry fees. But in January so the first displaced family we housed was in November of 23. And then January of 24, we're like, we did co-living where we're renting out the rooms individually. We did Airbnb where we're doing 2-3 night stays. We did some long-term rentals. We just kind of found a purpose in life. Mm-hmm. We found what we enjoyed. We're like, I love the positive impact we made in this family's life when we housed them in a time of need. Mm-hmm. So we then switched everything over to that. Mm-hmm. But we were at a time where, as a family, we would load up and we would go drive hotel parking lots at midnight with our kids in the truck to find people that are staying at hotels, companies. We're like, hey, do you guys need a furnished house? I got some furnished houses. This is the work that most people will never do. Mm-hmm. But we did it as a family. People's like, oh, I got kids. I can't do that. I work a W-2 job. I can't do that. This is midnight. We're doing this stuff. It's just, we didn't have a plan B. We only had a plan A. Mm-hmm. But then that's where the First Choice Homestays started, was we found what we really enjoyed. Like, we like midterm rentals, but not just midterm rentals. We like this certain thing, but part of the time was just, we just need these properties rented. But that's kind of where the whole First Choice Home thing started.
So First Choice Homestay, how does that work? How can somebody start into, because you're obviously then accommodating housing people that have like fire damage, house damage, some sort of like big storm. Mm-hmm. How does that work? Anybody listening to that, how can somebody get into that?
My recommendation is don't, unless you are very passionate about it.
Okay.
Don't do it for the money.
Okay.
Don't do it for anything unless it's a purpose, unless that is where you feel like your purpose in life is. Mm-hmm. But how you can get into it, if you have a property, you want to rent it out, on average, we get 50 to 60 housing requests every single month.
Dude, that's crazy.
People reaching out to us. Let me know. Mm-hmm. I can help you place someone. Or you can list them on all the online travel agency sites. You can get,
for example, like what?
Airbnb, VRBO, those type of sites. You can get requests off of there. Mm-hmm. Go door knock businesses that maybe are bringing employees in to the area, things like that. Mm-hmm. But if it's not something that you are very passionate about, my recommendation is don't do it. That's with anything. Money can be great, and there's so many ways to make money out there. A lot of people do something for the money and not because they feel like that's their purpose in life. And if you're just doing it for the money when times really get hard, that's when you give up. And if you're just doing for the money, the decisions you make are for the money, not for the purpose.
Right, yeah. So from that, I did want to focus on one of, because most people talk about the success. Mm-hmm. What's one mistake that you made early in your investment career that you still use today that serves as a lesson not to do it again?
One mistake that I made early. We made so many mistakes. The biggest mistake that I would say we made was seeking comfort. Mm-hmm. not wanting to get out of our comfort zone, not investing into myself enough, not spending money to get in rooms that I should be in, things like that, from just the scarcity mindset side of it. But the mistakes, we made mistakes that cost of $10,000 here, $10,000 there, $20,000, $30,000. We made all of these mistakes, but I learned from all of them, every one. But I'd say the biggest one is not investing in myself enough. Would be one of the biggest ones.
Okay, what? Tell us about what is we mentioned a lot of stuff, and people are gonna say like, okay, well, he's used the word sub two, and they don't know what the heck sub two is. What is subject to? What is sub two? That strategy. How can people use it, and give us an example of how it's all works out, from pitching the idea to whether it's an agent or a seller, title, how to explain it to title. What is overall subject to?
So I'll give a high level view of it, because you could go, there's so much in depth, but in a sense, someone buys a property, whether it's a house, whether it's a vehicle, whatever it is, Ivan, you go down to the bank, you get a loan on a car.
Correct.
And you have this new Ford pickup that you're driving around for a year or two, and you're like, you know what, I want to sell this Ford pickup. Well, you bought it brand new, the market shifted, you kind of owe more on that Ford pickup than it's worth.
Right. So
I come to you, Ivan, I say, hey, Ivan, I know you want to get $60,000 for this Ford pickup, but why? Because I'm seeing most of them online at like $50,000. Yours is listed at $60,000, and you're like, well, this is what I owe on. I'm just trying to get out of the debt. I'm like, hey, Ivan, what about this? You got the loan on it, but it's not selling because you're trying to get more out of it than it's worth. How about I just start take the payments that you have to the bank. I will just start making the payments on your behalf. I'll take the truck, and it'll be my truck now. Now I own the truck, but the debt for the truck is in your name. But now I have a new pickup. That credit, when I didn't have any credit, I don't need any credit, because I didn't have to go get approved for the loan. You already had it approved. You already had the loan.
Okay. When people think and people talk about, oh, you're just assuming the loan, it's not assuming the loan. How do you explain that to an agent or to a seller that says, oh, you're assuming the loan? Like, no, it's not assuming the loan. It's subject to the existing mortgage.
I just tell them, I say, no, I'm not actually assuming anything. The loan will stay in John Smith's name. I will just start making the payments on his behalf. To me, transparency is everything, and making sure people understand what is going on is extremely important.
Yeah, and that's what people don't understand. So, to anybody out there, how can they identify a sub 2 deal?
So the most common thing is if the person trying to sell the property owes more on the property than it's worth. They have debt on the property. The debt number is bigger than what the value of the property is.
Okay, so they have very, very little equity. They owe $350. The house is only worth $340. They're trying to sell it, but I mean, it's not gonna work. And in some cases, they would even have to bring money to the table that they would sell it for less under that.
Yep, that's the most common identifier.
Okay, now how do you go about structuring? Because people, and I know people are gonna say this. Okay, I identify that. Now what? How do I get this under contract? How do I take this to the title company? How do I know this is legal? What do I say? Like, I convinced the seller, they're okay with it because they're obviously in a desperate situation. Now what?
My recommendation is reach out to you. Reach out to me. Reach out to someone who's done them. Reach out to someone who knows about them and say, hey, this is what I have for a situation. This is what the property is. Would you want to partner with me on it? Could you walk me through this situation? Could you walk me through, show me how to do it? Find someone who's done the thing that you're trying to do and have them help you with it. Even if you don't make any money on that first one, which I'm sure you will, but even if you don't, that knowledge is worth more than the money 10 times over.
Yes.
Find someone, do the deal with them. I've done that with multiple people. They're like, I don't really know how this works. Can we do this deal together? I'm like, sure, let's do this. We'll go through every step of the way and clear till the closing. You'll know all of it.
Mm-hmm. So they can reach out to you. So the hard part, which most people, and I know that it is, the hardest part is picking up the phone. That's the hardest part. Mm-hmm. Just picking up the darn phone and calling, whether it's agents or calling sellers, or even just for sell by owners on Zillow. That's free marketing.
Yep.
Yeah, that is one of the toughest things, and it does get you out of your comfort zone, because I've had many people cuss me out. Mm-hmm. You don't ever call me again, and that is definitely difficult.
But it's one of those things you have to sacrifice.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, we're going to start switching towards the end of the show, but before we go there and ask you some questions that can change the direction of person's lives, one thing I want to really focus in this show is actionable steps. Mm-hmm. Most people just don't take action. They can listen to the podcast, they can watch YouTube videos, they can read a book. They have all this knowledge, but then you're stuck in that paralysis analysis, right? That you're like, oh, what the heck am I doing? I have all this. You don't know what the heck to do. Mm-hmm. How can someone listening to this show, what can they do to start taking action immediately to get their first deal, whether it's a wholesale, whether it's a fix, whether it's sub to, whatever it is? If you were to do it, how would you get your first deal? What can somebody do today to take action and get their first deal?
Stop watching content. Stop watching videos. Stop listening to podcasts. Unless you're driving, unless you can't be doing something else. The time that you should be watching a podcast or reading a book or whatever it is when you cannot be doing the other stuff. If there is a time that you can take action, don't feel like watching a podcast is getting you there. You know, a lot of times we like, oh yeah, I'm learning this stuff, so I'm going to go watch this podcast. I feel like I'm being productive. Right. You're not being productive. You're
I'm guilty of that.
Your time. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Do not watch a podcast. Do not read a book unless you cannot be doing the other stuff. Yes, make time for listening to podcasts, reading books, but do that when you're driving, late at night, early in the mornings. Do it when you cannot be doing actionable stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you, and most people, and I'm guilty of that, man. I'm guilty of that, because then sometimes I'm like, throughout the day, I'm like, oh, you know, it's, and you know, we live in an era where it's hard, man. It's sometimes hard because everybody likes to watch content. It's just that's, you know, it's some sort of satisfaction of listening to stuff. How do you have that discipline to not to do it and just take your action? How do you deal with the whole screen time?
It's a great question. I spend time on social media. I watch social media stuff. I scroll social media still.
We all do, man.
Just like everybody.
It's like a drug.
For me, me and my wife are in business together. We are constantly pushing each other. But it's been something that I have team members. We have 6 employees. They depend on me to make decisions for them to feed their families. If I don't make a good decision, it's the difference of them getting a paycheck or not.
Yeah.
So our purpose, we found our purpose in life, and we're so passionate and driving for that it helps take away that urge to scroll videos. Because if you truly love what you do and you're really pushing for that, screen time's a lot easier to walk away from. But if you're doing something you absolutely hate, you don't like doing, scrolling your phone helps you to forget about that. But if you're doing something you truly love, you're truly passionate about, you're growing something amazing, you're working on growing something amazing, it gets a lot easier to walk away from the screen time.
Jeez, that is so good, man. That is so good. Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes when things are not working out and you get a discouraging call or something, it's easy to just turn on like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. But yeah, it's definitely. But then when you start thinking of other people and the purpose and why you're doing it, and that other people rely on you, then it's a lot harder to make
the decisions I make in my life is also not just the difference of a team member feeding their family, but it's also the difference of a family having a home to stay in or not having a home to stay in.
Mm-hmm.
And I carry that weight with me every day. I know the decisions I make or don't make will make the difference of a family being in a home with their kids, feeling safe, or not being in a home and not feeling safe.
Jeez, that is so good, man.
And if you don't have that pushing you, find that. Find that. Whatever it may be. You may be trying to buy a real estate deal, and you know if you don't make one more call, someone's going to lose their house to foreclosure, and they're not going to be able to buy another house for another year. They may get divorced. Imagine the worst stuff possible if that's what it takes to keep you driving.
Yeah.
I had heard Ed Milet say this one time. He said he was selling insurance, life insurance, and he felt kind of beat down one day. He got a lot of rejections, and he showed up to this family's home. Married couple, they had a couple young kids, and they're like, "No, we're not right now. We're gonna think about it." And him already feeling beat down, he said, "All right, I'll touch base next week."
Mm-hmm.
That never happened. The parents died in a car accident.
Oh my God.
The kids had nothing covering them. The kids lost the home they were raised in. The kids then had to go live with family members who were not doing well financially. All because of him feeling discouraged and feeling beat down because he got some no's. He then walked out on a family
That needed him.
and their kids suffered forever because of it. Because he's like, "Oh, I'm beat down. I feel so, And then this day and age, people be like, "Oh, I got rejection. Oh, I'm going to scroll TikTok or scroll Instagram."
Yeah.
But if you have that purpose driving you and you feel the weight of the decisions you make, it's a lot easier it's a lot easier to mitigate that screen time.
Dude, that is so good. Yeah, man. And unfortunately, we are selfish. We just think about ourselves. But there is somebody out there that, whether you're selling life insurance or in our cases, we're, doing real estate deals. And obviously it's a business. We have to make money, but we can save people from foreclosure and change the direction of their lives. There's people that are in denial, because I've had those. And there's people that are actually, "Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for taking out this from me." And I actually had a deal like that in Rupert, that a guy's like, "Hey, man, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for not giving up, man." He gave me a fair deal. It's like, "I want you to make money. Go make as much money as you can. Thanks for saving me. Thanks for opening my eyes not to get foreclosed on." It was a good deal. But yeah, man, sometimes we're selfish, and that's a strong point you made there, man. Really good. So our show is about investing without regrets. The reason I'm calling it investing without regrets is because a lot of people, or a lot of us, have a lot of, per se, like buyer's remorse. You pay something, you're like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that." You invest into something. And I see life as, you can either invest your time, money, and energy, or you can just spend your time, money, and energy. That's why I kind of came up with like, "Oh, I want to invest without regrets, without feeling that." So tell us about something that you have invested in life that you have no regrets spending that money or writing that check.
I don't think I regret anything that I've ever invested into. I love how you put it. You can either invest or you can spend. And there's been nothing that I have invested in that I regret. Everything's benefited me. I've learned something from everything that I invested in. Maybe it didn't go the way I wanted to, but I learned from it.
Yeah.
And if you approach it with that mindset,
What am I going to learn?
what am I going to learn? I'm guaranteed to learn. It doesn't matter what you invested. You are guaranteed to learn something as long as you have the mindset for it. You can learn that it's the biggest scam ever and you can lose tens of thousands of dollars, or you can learn that it's the greatest thing ever. You're guaranteed to learn.
Dude, that is so good. Yeah, I've made so many mistakes. And even when I've lost money, I still push forward. And I'm like, okay, I can't sit down and cry because that does me no good. The problem's still there. What did I learn from this? What are the mistakes that I made so I don't make them again, right? What did I learn? Okay, think, write down everything you did. I'm like, let's go try it again. And yeah, it's exactly what it is. And even the mistakes, even if it costs you money, sometimes like it hurts, it sucks, but
you're still going to learn.
Yeah, you're still
One
learn
of the things that in really investing into, and it's not a money aspect, but spending the time to sit down and have the conversations to get on the same page with your spouse.
Dude, that is so good, man. One thing my wife and I try to do every month is trying to see like what is it that we're gonna do this month? How is it that we're gonna align our actions when school starts? What is it your duties that you're gonna do? What am I gonna do? And try to be aligned, and it's important, man. It's really important.
Focus on this. If you have the same goal to achieve the same goal.
Yeah.
And if you align your purpose in life, I talk a lot about purpose, and the reason is because without purpose, it's sad. It's a sad. I interview a lot of people for like job positions, and most people have no purpose in life. But if you can align your purpose and your spouse's purpose, you can get on the same page and be working to achieve the same purpose. That's the best investment you will ever make.
Okay.
I wouldn't be where I am without her. She wouldn't be where she is without me. We've aligned ourselves. We're focused on the same purpose. She's pushing me. I'm pushing her. And we have scaled fast in a business that we started from nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you can't do that if you're not aligned. Invest in that.
Dude, that is so good, man. That's so powerful. Thanks. That I'm even taking that advice really, really deep in. Thanks, man. So I want to go into a little small segment that we talk. I don't know what this is going to call. I'm just throwing out ideas, but we're going to call it like the Fun 5 Pivotal Moment. The idea is just giving you 5 questions that can help change the direction of someone's life. So with that being said, what books or what are your favorite books that you recommend and why, so they can to change the direction of your life?
Great question. So book number 1 is Writing for the Brand by Jim Witt. I got introduced to this book not too long ago, actually at Squat Up Summit, someone I met there. And it's the book is about finding your purpose in life. We all have the same why. Yours is for your family, your kids, your wife, your spouse, whatever. That's all of our whys. We want to have a better life. We want to have a more successful life. We want to have freedom. But what's your purpose? Those are two different things. Find your purpose, and it's a book it's a fun read, but also help to find your purpose. But not just find my purpose, but also employees, team members I bring on. I have them read the book because I want the purpose to align. So that's one that I absolutely love. Another one that I've read a lot was Blue Fishing. And I know it's a weird name. I don't remember whose that one's from. It may have it wrote down there.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Blue Fishing. Yeah, by Steve D. Sims.
Yeah, it's one that.
What's that about? I haven't heard about that one.
It's got a lot of. If you listen to the audio version, there's some not so good language in it, but he grew up in his family. They were bricklayers, but he started knocking on. He's like, why are we just bricklayers? Why are we not something more? And it was in a very pivot. I listened to that a bunch in a pivotal time because I had coaches, I had people, mentors, I had people I paid thousands of dollars to that said, "Do not do it this way, Rex. Do it this way." And I said, "Why? Why? Why not do it this way? Why are you saying do it this way? Families are suffering because it's this way. I'm gonna try this. Why not? I'm gonna go knock on this door. I'm going to knock until that door falls down or until that door opens. And I'm going to walk in and I'm going to say, well, this is what I'm doing, you know? And in a pivotal moment in our business, we said, why? Why do it this way? Why not try this? So we started trying this. And we've had amazing success with it. But also the families we've been able to help because of this, even though people I paid thousands of dollars said to do it this way. And that book talks a lot about that. Like, that's just not us. It's like, he's like, why? Why is it not us?
Makes you question.
But why? Everything we do in life is because someone said, this is the way we do it. Or the people that have invented new things. The airplane, the whatever. They're like,
why?
You'll never make that happen. But they're like, well, why not?
In
that book, it's a fun read, and it's starts making you question yourself, but also question other things. Why not this? And it really encouraged me in a time of trying to break and out and do something different than anybody else that I ever came across was doing. And it pushed me and it encouraged me to do that. Dude,
that is so good. Good. And then your third book?
The Purpose-Driven Life, I believe is what it is. It's yes. The Purpose-Driven Life, but it's a book that, and I focus a lot on purpose-driven. Be purposeful in what you do. Have a purpose-driven life. If you do not, money's just money. There's endless amounts of money out there. Do whatever it is with a purpose, and be purposeful about what you do. Have purpose in the decisions you make. I really love that book because it talks a lot about that.
Dude,
we're
that
all
is so
born
good.
with a purpose, but very little actually do anything with their purpose.
Dude, that is so good, man. So second question that we're going to ask is, for somebody that's out there that wants to start their business and like, oh yeah, business is going to be fun. I'm going to work for myself and I'm going to have my flexible hours and all of this. Describe entrepreneurship.
If you have that mindset, you'll fail. You won't succeed. If you have the mindset of, I'm going to do what I want and I want to do this because of this, you will fail. Entrepreneurship for us, it's been making mistakes. It's been mistakes that cost of tens of thousands of dollars. It's been, as I mentioned earlier, we did it as a family, driving around at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning to
that's a massive action, man.
It's what it was. And we worked all day. We worked doing stuff all day long. Well, then come 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, we went out and drove around. You know, it's things that it's going to challenge you in ways that you have never been challenged before. But if you approach it with a mindset of, I'm going to do this because I want to pick my own hours, you won't succeed. Two years ago, right about 2 years ago, it's actually 2 years ago we just passed Memorial Day, right? It was Memorial Day. Me and my brothers, our first investment property, we were working on a property on Memorial Day, and we see all these people coming back from the mountains camping, just pickup after camper after camper after camper. And I took off my regular work to come work on this property because it needed a lot of work. We were fixing it up, and we're sitting there talking. We stopped and took a break, got some lunch at a Subway there, and we're sitting there talking. And I'm seeing all these pickups, and because it's right on a main camping highway, and all these people are coming by, and we're like, I'm going to build a life that I don't have to come back from camping on a Monday to go back to work on Tuesday. That was my mindset at the time. I'm going to build a life that I don't have to come back from camping on a Monday because that's the end of my holiday week, and I got to go back to work on Tuesday. I'm coming home Monday afternoon. We're late. We're stressed. We're traffic's bad, so therefore we're getting frustrated because we got to be back to work on Tuesday. 2 years later, I work all Memorial Day weekend. I didn't take anything off. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Yes, I went to church on Sunday and things like that, but it's like that's entrepreneurship, especially in the early stages when you're scaling something.
Yeah,
I work 24/7.
Yeah.
My phone rings. People can get a hold of me 24/7. They can.
Dude, yeah.
Because I pray for opportunity.
And that's what you get.
When God brings opportunity, he's brought opportunity to us at 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening. He brought opportunity to us at noon on a Sunday afternoon. At 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, 3. He's brought opportunity to us in every hour. At midnight, he's brought opportunity to us.
Yeah.
And when I'm praying for that opportunity and the Lord brings it, I'm not just going to sit there and say, "Hi, gosh, God, why did you bring it on a Sunday afternoon? Could you at least just thought of me and have brought it on Tuesday?" When opportunity comes, you take it. If you don't take it, you lose it.
Dude,
why is God going to keep bringing you opportunity if you don't take the opportunity that he brings you?
And you don't even listen to him.
You're praying for it. He brought it to you, but it's inconvenient.
Yep.
So you don't take it.
Yeah. Dude, that is so good, man. That is so good. And that's what entrepreneurship is about, man. It's about challenges, but it does give you, it makes life fun. It makes life fun because if you're just coasting through life, and that's where I was stuck when I had my business. So I got too comfortable and I'm like, no, let's go do something challenging. Let's go do something fun.
It's one of those things that is extremely fun, extremely challenging, but you must approach it with the mindset of, I'm going to take opportunity anytime it comes. Anytime it comes. And it's not going to be easy. You're problem solving.
Yeah.
It becomes your ability to solve problems. How well can you solve problems? And if you can't solve problems, it's going to be even harder for you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Dude, that is so good.
But you're not going to learn. You're not going to start out knowing how to solve problems. You're going to have a problem thrown in your face, and then you're going to have to go figure out a way to solve it.
Yeah, and that's kind of scary too. Everything's scary. Everything's hard in this life. Everything's hard.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard, dude. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, being healthy is hard. I mean, nobody likes to eat the salad, but being fat is hard too. You know, being poor is hard. I mean, yeah, you have no money to feed your family, but then being rich is hard too, because then you have to go and solve problems and do everything's hard. So choose your hard, dude. That's so good, man. Successful morning routine. How does your morning routine look like?
So that's a great question. That's been something I've still worked to figure out. You know, what does a morning routine look like? I have got up at 8 o'clock in the mornings. I've got up at 6 o'clock in the mornings. I've got up at 3 o'clock. I've had routines where I got up at 3 o'clock every single morning. So that's something I have not totally mastered even as of now. I haven't. My hours fluctuate. For me, it's the best for me, and because I've tried a lot. I'm like, okay, am I more productive late in the evening versus early in the morning? But with a family and having kids, working from home, what served me the best was getting up early, having that time of quietness, focus, learning. That's when I did my podcast listening to, book reading, things like that, was early in the morning.
Yep.
But it's also, we do a lot late at night when the kids go to bed too. Because me and my wife, we're masterminding. Like sometimes our brains don't shut off. We're at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. We're like, well, what about this? What about this? How can we do this better? So far as morning routine, I don't have a solid morning routine yet. I've changed, and I'm still figuring that out. What does it look like for me? What does that look like? Because it's one of these things. Entrepreneurship is really learning about yourself, learning what's best for you. I love the mornings. I love getting up early, reading, listening to podcasts. That's my morning routine that I love. But far as time, I've done it as early as 3 o'clock in the morning, where I'd get up every single morning at 3 a.m. And sometimes at 6 a.m. I did at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. I tried different things, and I'm still trying those. I'm still figuring that out. What's good for me and what works best for me. But I love mornings. I love the early mornings. I love the learning, the studying in the early mornings.
Dude, one book you need to read it to help probably with that is I read it and it did change my morning routines. It's called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Dude, that's such a good book. You need to read that one. That will probably help you too. All right, fourth question. Best piece of advice you've ever received in life or business?
That's a really good one. Best piece of advice that I've ever received in life or business. I would say the best is, for me, it's the best piece of advice I ever received was God must remain your focus at all times. No matter what you do in business, in life, in whatever it is, He must be the focus at all times. Everything you do, you must stay focused on Him. You can make all the money in the world, you can do all this stuff, but He must remain the focus at all times.
Dude, that is some so good, solid advice. Sometimes we get trapped in this world that we kind of forget about who actually put us here in this world, right? Which is God. I mean, and I whatever religion you believe in, man, doesn't really matter. Christian, Catholic, Mormon, whatever it is, but there has to be a creator. And sometimes we just get caught up in our life that we forget about God. But God never forgets about us. And sometimes we are ungrateful of just the simple fact of being here and being alive. Dude, that's such great advice. Dude, that's some solid advice.
For me, every opportunity that comes into my life, God brought it to me.
Yeah.
And if I don't keep Him as the focus, what am I doing on this earth?
Dude.
Why am I here?
Yeah, man, that's so good. Okay. Last question. Most inspiring quote or a quote that you live your life by?
The worst tragedy in life is not death, but living a life without purpose.
Dude, that is good, man. That is so good. There's worse things to death, and people don't think about it. I mean, death is tragedy. I mean, definitely. No, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that is so good.
If you don't have a purpose in your life and you're not living your life with a purpose, it's what are you doing? And I know for everyone it takes time to find that purpose at times, but for me that's something that I think is so important, is purpose. Be purposeful, live your life with a purpose.
Dude, that is so good, man. Dude, that's really some solid advice. Yeah, people think somehow that, and don't get me wrong, I mean, money is not good or bad, it's just a tool. Right? But people think that once you have all this money in the world, it's going to somehow and like I said, obviously money is good. I mean, we're in a world that everything moves with money, that you're going to be happier, you're going to be more joyful. And no, that's just a choice. And if you don't have purpose, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you do not enjoy the things that you have and enjoy just the work that you're trying to do to achieve your purpose. Yeah, that's some good stuff.
If you have purpose in life and you that purpose is what's driving you, money always comes. The money will always come.
Yeah.
But you must have a purpose.
Yeah, and then just be that attractive person that attracts success. They do say that success is not chased. Success is attracted. You have to become a different person and attract success, and don't be chasing, because you'll always chase money. You have to attract money. Dude, that is so good. Rex, it's been really, really good, man, talking with you. We can go on for hours. I mean, it's good. You have some really, really good, solid advice. You have an awesome story. I really thank you for coming over here and being the first guest in this podcast. Like I said, I'm not sure where this is going to take us, but I'm really hoping that this show can help people out there and give them hope, right? Give them hope as far as if they feel stuck in their life, if they have no other choice. It's good to hear your kind of story so they can bring home. Like, oh, man, he came from nothing. He's probably in a worse situation than I am currently in, right? And I think I'm already touching rock bottom. Like, man, he had it worse, and he somehow overcame it. So it's been really, really good. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Where can people find you if people want to learn more about Sub 2? I know you're the Idaho Sub 2 leader. Instagram, Facebook, website. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, Rex Shippy on Facebook, Instagram. You'll find me there. Send me a message, send me a DM, and we'd love to connect with you. We host meetups every month. They're free to attend. Come on out to them. Meet other people. Meet other people doing what you want to do. And yeah, hit me up on either one of those, Facebook or Instagram.
Cool. Awesome. And anybody, all my listeners out there, remember what Rex said. Stop wasting time consuming content, quit watching podcasts, and start taking actions. Call real estate agents. Once you guys find a deal, dude, Rex is the man. He'll help you guys close that deal, whether it's subject to, you guys already heard him at Rex Shippy in Instagram. But guys, that's what this whole podcast is about. Live the best life you can possibly dream of, because nothing is impossible, and Rex is a proven example. Rex, thank you so much, man. Thank you for jumping up on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. And guys, this is Ivan Castellano. I will be hosting the podcast Investing Without Regrets I'll be bringing some really people and bringing some solid advice. Rex, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me, Ivan. Appreciate it.